Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. This is your host, Thomas. I'm the head of implementations for Impact Precast, and I'm here to present to you our Revit solution for Hollowcore and, of course, for project planning and production planning. Today's webinar is going to be a workflow webinar, meaning that I'm not going to go into much technical details on how you create new projects, on how you edit things, or how you make simple stuff in Impact. What I'm going to do instead is show you the flow of creating your Hollowcore in Impact for Revit. And then, of course, we will take this data from the database and use it for project planning and production planning very quickly in our project management tool. Of course, I will explain and say many things during this webinar, but if you feel like you're missing some basic information, then always you can always reference back to the webinars that we have made previous, where they were more technical or they had more details on how you create a project, on how you do all the basic stuff in Impact. Well, with no further ado, I will just show you here. I am in the project manager. I have already created a new project. I have made my Revit file and I have already opened it. And when I open it, you can see I have managed and connected my levels. This is my 3D model space, and on my levels, I will start drawing the Hollowcores on my level 2, and then of course, subsequently, I will copy those Hollowcores on level 3 and level 4. I have created a very basic, let's call it a very basic floor plan where I'm going to draw my Hollowcores on. Yeah, and again, there are a few things you need to set up beforehand, creating your project, managing the levels and stuff like that. But this all have been done. So what I'm going to do is use the Impact tab. For those of you who do not know, Impact for Revit is basically this great tab expansion to the existing ribbons on Revit. And with the right setup and with the right standard and creation of families and so on and so forth, you will be able to draw your precast elements with no effort at all and then create your sub drawings. And this is the process that I'm going to show you. Every element has its own sub tab or sub menu, and in Hollowcores we have our Hollowcore here. I have already created a definition for you, so there is no reason for going into details on how you can create a Hollowcore family that you can use for all of your projects. In our case, I will just start automatically with the process. And the first thing we have to do is, of course, draw our Hollowcore. Drawing the Hollowcore, it should be a fairly simple process. What we do is I have my family 19. This is the height is 185. And the first thing I need to do is select the boundary. Selecting the boundary should be also very simple. We have many options here. You can pick points, you can draw a rectangle, you can pick model lines, and also some special cases. You can pick a specific floor that you have designed to fill it with Hollowcores, and then of course pick point in closed area, which is another option for creating your Hollowcores. In my case, I have simple geometries for floors, so I will just draw a rectangle. I will take this corner and then I will close it in this corner. Now you see that the Hollowcores have been created using this array, but I would like them to change the array to go from here to here. And how do you do that? You just select direction, press on the left side or on the right side, and then you get the Hollowcores there. Then you can see here, it's a little bit messy here. So if I have a specific point that will array my Hollowcores correctly, then I can pick an insertion point, and that would be your insertion point of the Hollowcores. In our case, we can either pick here or we can also pick at the edge. This gives us a little bit of a heads up that we can just move this arrow. This is the cut slab, and we can also move it to position number 11. I will just show you here how it looks, that the cut slab is going to be the one placed here. I will press escape. Yes, and then when I go to the end caps, you will be able to see that I have multiple different types of end caps, U-shape or rectangular shape, and then some openings automatically connected to your end caps. This is something that you can define or predefine, let's say. Now I will use this end cap with a little cutout in the middle that will be that is created for this specific project. This project is an example, so it is not real project. As you can see, the only things I did was select the direction, select the boundary, select the direction, and of course you can always select the support length. And in my case, it is correct because now I'm arraying the Hollowcores in this side, and I want 80 millimeters from this side and 80 millimeters from this side. You can select different edges and add a specific cut, how do you call it? Specific support length for your Hollowcores to be expanded. Yes, we'll say apply. It is correct anyways, and then the only thing I have to do is press OK. Now the slabs have been created, and if we want to see them in a 3D view, then you can see that they are floating on my floor too, and they look pretty nice. Now that I explained how it works, then I will give myself a little bit more quick, let's say, and I will just do the draw rectangle again. We'll try to get a correct snapping to my project. I will draw the rectangle. I will select the direction. Again, the direction should go from this way. We'll pick the insertion to be here. And then I will look that it looks good. And I will just press OK. I don't want any cut slabs so small to be added in my model. So I will just press OK. And then I will just finish the creation of my slabs. In the same manner, I'm going to do the other rectangle. Yes, draw Hollowcore again. Select boundary, draw rectangle one more time. Here. And then I will again select direction. Session point. Be done here. No small slabs for me. And then press OK. And that is just perfect. We have created our Hollowcores from here. In our case, we can say that the building is symmetrical, so we can either mirror the slabs or create them again. In my case now, I will not mirror. I will just draw the Hollowcores one more time using the model lines. I have created model lines in this floor as reference lines. I have also done it for my recesses, but of course we will see that a little bit later. And then selecting the model lines and then pressing finish will also very quickly do the job of doing this the floor very well. I will select pick the insertion to be here, and then I will just say apply. The hollows have been created, and for the last part here I did it in a different way where I can draw the Hollowcore. I can select the boundary, pick the model lines, and draw for this area all at once. And I can do that because I have this separation in the middle. I will select direction again. I will pick the insertion point to be this line here. And then if I have any small slabs, I can move this to here, take this away, and then we have a perfect um, model to continue. Press OK. Yeah, that is perfect. We can now go and review our slabs in our model. Of course, as I said, this is not a real project, so there might be some inaccuracies. I haven't calculated any special spaces in between the slabs, but as you can see, most of the slabs are fitting pretty good, and some of them are cut in some of their cores. And this is the first part, of course, modeling the slabs. You might have noticed that here and here and here we have some openings, right? And while doing the openings, we need to say that it you can do it in many different ways. In this case here, I want to add a hanger, meaning that I will cut this slab and then I will add a steel hanger component that will keep this slab in place while being based on the two supporting slabs. And how can I do that? I can come here. I can just say add the insert hanger. Then the software will ask me to select the slabs to support. This is my slab to support. And then I will say finish. And then select the supporting slabs. You can always see the command, what it requires from you. Select the supporting slabs and then also press finish. And now you just need to make sure to select the correct side from here all the way up to here. Select the hanger made for this job, press OK, and then if we're lucky enough, the hanger will cut the slab off. The cutout from the end cap, of course, is going to be adjusted and be added here. In your case, you might want to also select the slab and use the command edit Hollowcore, edit Hollowcore, and then go to the end cap, for example, and from the left edge, if I'm not mistaken, you can also set a none for the Hollowcore. Let's see if that will change. No, it was the other edge, of course. These things happens in a live webinar, so I will just go and adjust, take this and say none from the right edge. Say OK, and now we just have a basic edge from the side of the Hollowcore. And then we have the two supporting slabs, and of course the recesses. We can see here in the 3D how it looks. The recesses are also created in the supporting slabs if there is a need for a recess, right? So pretty much very intuitive in that sense. I said something before about modeling, and before I continue with the rest of the openings for modeling the floor, I want to say that when you have some slabs, some Hollowcore slabs, and you want to mirror them, you cannot really use the mirror command coming from Revit itself. You have to use the command that it is basically under the impact tab, and it can be found here. It's called mirror element. That's the only way you can select a part of your building and then use the command mirror element to mirror the slabs. Usually, at least from my perspective, very few people mirror Hollowcore slabs, but in this case, it could have been possible, let's say, to do that. I prefer to draw everything from scratch because, of course, there are never fully symmetrical buildings between sides. This command here includes also the copy and move element. So I can actually select all of my slabs and use this command and say copy move element. Let's see here, finish, yes. And I can copy to level. This is because now I want to copy, before I edit them, I want to copy to level 3, and then by selecting control, I will copy to level 4 also, say okay. Then of course we give the software a little bit of time to do this. Of course, these are real elements, right? These are heavy 3D models that of course it will take some time to create those elements. What I wanted to, of course, mention also is that copying the elements first, and then, of course, you have some differences between floors and openings in between floors. So we do that now. So and then we can go in every specific floor and do this for do the openings and stuff for every specific floor in any sense, right? You see here the last floor is a little bit higher than the rest, and that's why the slabs are all the way up there. And yeah, it seems like the slabs have been copied. So we can also go and open level 3. We save the project. This is another way of showing the slabs in this. Let's say it's in this. We can see shaded, and we can change um, to the different functions here, to the different visibility views. Now going back to my model, I want to create the opening here, right? And I want to create an opening here, an opening here. Of course, that will take also a little bit of time, and a circular opening here. And in order to achieve that, I have already created some model lines again, right? Creating model lines, it is very simple. Let's go to the model line here, and you just select the level that you want to create the lines, and then you can either create circles, lines, rectangles, and so on and so forth. So now we have under our components, we have this function, say draw recess. In my case, I want to select a circular recess, but I want to be a user-defined. And when I have a user-defined recess and a cutout recess, then I first need to pick the face. Picking the face meaning that I need to pick the top of the slab. Sometimes it can be a little bit tricky here to select the face when we are looking at the slab on top. So we need to press Tab and keep the mouse like that. So now we're selecting the top face, and then we pick the recess line. Select this, we say finish, and say cutout, and we press OK. Update. And then we have the cutout circular recess. Of course, it doesn't look extremely well here how it looks, but it is in the 3D model. It is correctly made. In the same manner, we are going to do this, but here this is added in 2 slabs. And that means that in Revit, in order for this to be achievable, we will need to draw the slab, draw the recess, user-defined, pick face again. As I said, we keep the mouse and we select the face now, pick the recess line, 1, 2, 3, 4, say finish, make sure that it is a cutout recess, press OK. And now we have the cut slab from this side, and now we'll do the exact same thing from the other side. Draw recess, user defined. I know, now it's a little bit boring, but again, this is the only things that we really have to do here, right? So pick face, pick recess lines, 1, 2, 3. 4. Sorry, I need to pick the recess lines again because I didn't press finish. I press escape. That was not good. Cut out, say OK. Yes, and now we have the and now we have our recesses here. And the last part is, of course, to add the recesses in here also, right? This and this. I have also created model lines for this, so I will very quickly, let's say I'll do one of those, so we don't spend so much time in doing the same thing all the time. I hope you get the point. So user defined, pick face, tab, tab, tab. Now we have the top, and then we pick the recess lines. 1, 2, 3, and 4. We say finish, and then we make sure we have the cutout. It. So before we go and check our model and we continue with the process, I would like to also say that when we have a cutout recess here, we can also have the option to um, draw core fillings. So in our case here, you can just select the core filling, select the Hollowcore to do the core filling, and then start from wherever you want the core filling to go, down here, all the way up here, let's say. And now you see we have selected all the cores, but in our case, I think we want core 1, 2, 3, and then 8, 7, 6. So in my case here, I will delete this and this, and then I will delete this, and I will go and delete this and say keep 3 and 6. Hopefully that will work. Oh, yeah, that's perfect. So we can see here that my cores are correct. And now that I have finished with my modeling of my floors, I will go back to my 3D model and check how the view of my slabs look. Everything looks great. It is a very nice cutout. Press escape. It's a little bit difficult here to filter, but I guess you see the point. So now that I have my slabs, this is the first part, right? Modeling your floors, doing what you have to do, and then of course you need to um, save the elements. If I open the project manager right now, you will see that if I reload my model, nothing will come over because there is not really any data in the project manager, right? So no elements, buildings, floors, um, no data under my floors. Why? Because the elements in Revit are not really saved. What I'm going to do is go to my 3D model and of course save the slabs. I will select all of them. That will take a little bit of time. It's maybe a little bit riskier, but I will select all of them and I will do the save command. I will go to my Hollowcore, say save Hollowcores, and now I have to wait a little bit. So all the selected Hollowcores are going to come on the screen in a window that I'm expecting, and then I will hopefully be able to see. You see here, it's loading. So this is a good time to have a sip of coffee. Perfect. Quicker than I expected. Now it shows you how many of the same slabs we have. Of course, we have a lot of repetition in this example, but that's also nice. We have the same element mark 44 times. I will take all of them and export them to OBJ, so I get all the materials that I need added in Impact, and I will say save. This is a lifetime saving option, so you will see how long it takes. hopefully we are soon there. But again, this is a very nice thing for you to see. I will open the project manager, I will reload my model and show you, let's say, the model and how it looks in the project manager very, very quickly. Press this button, zoom fit, and the slabs are automatically created. Yes, they're just get generated. They look like that. You can see the edges, you can see the openings. We have also import them as UDA, sorry, excuse me, as OBJ files. If I use the advanced OBJ loader, this is also for you to see. If you have any casting materials, reinforcement, or anything else that you are using, then they will also be able to see whatever information you have inside them. And that also applies for all types of elements, right? But in our case here, we do this. I will just use the standard OBJ loader now, so I don't want to spend too much on visibility things. This is, as I said, a workflow webinar. So now, instead of, let's say, going and showing all of them, as you see, saving took a couple of minutes. I will just generate the subdrawing for one of them. At least the one that I can see here is the most complicated one, or like, let's say, I'll take those two, right? I will go to impact and create a subdrawing. In impact is irrelevant to create a subdrawing per element. Sometimes you can also, when you have multiple elements with the same element mark, you only create one subdrawing per per element mark, right? So you can have it and then we can go open it. For those of you who are coming from the AutoCAD world or the world of 2D drawing, this again is a 3D system, meaning that there are way more options in here, and also the drawings are saved under the library here in the assemblies. You can see you have all the assemblies here, and then you can see this is the Hollowcore 15, and you can also go down here and find the Hollowcore 8, the main seed for Hollowcore, sorry, Hollowcore 15, Hollowcore 8. And this is how it looks in this. Of course, there are things that you can always fix and work with in your model. It's not really any issues. You can always edit the information here and adjust the subdrawing to your own specifications. Yes, having a subdrawing, approving the subdrawing, and setting the status of the subdrawing to approved, then we go back to our impact, and then we can have what we call either a rough model, an initial model before everything is approved, so we can use this information for planning, or we can also have approved elements, which means that now they are ready for production, and that will apply to the status of the element in our case. If we want to see how many elements we have, we can see here we have 120 elements in this type. Every element is unique, even though they have the same element mark, and the uniqueness of the element comes from what we call the element ID. The element ID is the data every element gets automatically from impact when an element is created in the database, right? So going back to my model view, it is as simple as that. Now, as I promise you, we go to the other part of the software, which is the project planning and the production planning, the part of the software where I feel more safe and more good to work with. Let's say I'm not a professional designer. I know you guys, you might find a lot of comments in the Revit department, but this is very basic, let's say, Revit based webinar, right? Just to draw some Hollowcores, create, and also Hollowcore is a very basic element. I believe it should be easy, it should be fast, and you should be able to finish your floors in less than a day. Now, as a project planner, for me, this information here is very nice and very important. So what I'm going to do is first, having a floor, I will just set the erection sequence. Setting the erection sequence, it is something that I find very important because it will help everybody um, adjust their information in the project planning. I will do something I will select my slabs from a specific way and then from another way, and I will add them here. I will say add elements, and then every slab will get a new erection sequence. The erection sequence is also represented here in the model view, and it is very, very important to see. I will do this for all of my floors. Double clicking on here, it basically isolates the floor itself. I will add the elements, and then I will say floor 4, and I will do that again, same way. I will add the elements for one last time, and then I will just say apply. This is important. If you do not say apply, then the erection sequence will not get applied, and that means that you will just miss whatever you did selecting your elements in a specific way and then adding them to. As I said, a lot of times people like to work in the model floor, and that is great. I like to do that, but a lot of times we need to also work in the element IDs, and we work in the element IDs because that's where the elements are unique. When I double click on floor 2, then the floor 2 is also isolates in the model view. It also isolates in the element IDs, meaning that everything that you see here is interconnected in a way. Then you have the erection sequence, and now you have the elements in an order that it is very easy for you to plan, meaning that now I want this whole floor to be delivered, let's say, on a day in my project, right? And as a project manager, I know the dates, I know the deadline. So if I want to be safe and this project needs to be delivered in July, then I can select my plant erection date, right? Say save, set a date, go to July. I know July for most factories it's a closed or a down period, but let's say this project goes to the 9th of July and say apply. And that's my first floor, say save, and then I'm expecting the rest of the floors to also get some information. This information is what we call the planning data. The planning data is also a small part of our planning system, but it is the most representative of what we call draft planning. Draft planning gives an indication to everybody in the company when these labs needs to be produced. And why this is important? This is important because in this project, those labs need to be produced by the 1st of July. And the drawings needs to be finished by the 26th of June. This is 16 days from now, right? The whole point here is that when you have multiple projects, this accumulates a lot, right? And then it is difficult to keep control of all the projects coming in. Here you have data, you have concrete data, you have the data of every element, and you can actually see what element needs to be produced and when. This information will be used from your production planner to do the production planning and from your transport manager or logistics manager, which will also use this information to do the transport planning. I will just do the same for floor 3 and floor 4 just to show you how easy it is to set the date, right? And I will just say Friday the 10th, so apply. This we call these dependencies, right? Setting an erection date, going all the way backwards to the production date and the drawing date. This is the dependencies. This is something we can set in the database one time, or we can set per project, of course, because every project might have different dependencies or different importance dates. So sometimes we want to be more safe, sometimes we know we have the product or we're going to produce the product very quickly. So in this case, I'm pretty safe. I can produce 8 days before basically I'm going to erect the elements, right? Last but not least, let's take the last date. I will select. There are many ways of doing that. Now, I'm showing you the most basic way. If we want to go deep into information, then we will spend, of course, a lot of time. This is not the purpose of this webinar. This is the purpose of see a little bit of all the functionality coming in to the system, right? So I will go back to my model view, go to my building, and also show you now that here we have a lot of great color coding in the system, meaning that now that I have added the rough planning, I can go to rough planning and check, for example, here's all of my slabs have had rough planning. When you add dates to them, that means that they get rough planned. You can do the same, for example, with the erection sequence, right? And you can go here and see, oh, all of my elements, they have an erection sequence. In that way, you can always see if you forgot to add an erection sequence, or you miss something, or the project manager can always come back and by looking at colors and stuff, see where we are at the project at any moment in time. The most important color, of course, is the status, and as you can see here, there is not really any status done yet. As I said, the realistic idea of running a factory or being a Hollowcore production factory is that you have items in stock of your items running for multiple projects at the same time. This happens for everybody. For the sake of this example, I'm going to show you only one project. I'm not going to show you how we plan for multiple projects at the same time, just because I have the view here, right? However, if you want to look how we can plan multiple projects, then you can always refer back to the previous webinars we have made regarding the resource manager, which is the tool that you can plan multiple projects at the same time, and it is also very intuitive and easy, and shows you exactly how to do this job. First, I will do the cash planning. I will find the dates that I was supposed to cast plan my elements. They were supposed to be planned on the 1st, and on the 2nd, and on the 3rd, right? And then I will start on the 1st, the July 1st here. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to select all the elements, just because this is not going to be a real project. Of course, when you have a real project, then you have to come to the element IDs, change your preset to your grid preset to cast planning. Then the cast planning gives you, of course, a lot more information. It will give you the definition, it will give you the number of strands, the strand pattern, the information of your height, length, and width, and then you can do a little bit more fine planning, what we call. In my case here, of course, because I don't want to miss a lot of time and pick those slabs, I will just select all of them and see how they will be planned on my Hollowcore tables. Autobed management, very simple, going to the date, autobed planning, select only the Hollowcore beds, the other beds are for different types of slabs, unrestricted, multicast, and then with the length as I did. Meaning that from the smallest slab, we're going to go and plan all the way up to the bigger slabs, right? Cast time days 1. Multicast is very, very important, because if you do not press that, then only the amount of Hollowcore that fits those 3 beds for 1 day will be planned. If you press multicast, all the selected Hollowcores, 120, will be planned and will be continue being planned to the days above until all of them are fitted on tables. So start. I know maybe you have heard me in previous webinars say those things before, but this is a very important, let's say, information to keep in mind. Now we do the cast planning. course, there's a lot of elements at once. Again, everything is handled in 3D, so that gives information, and you can see how this has filled out the bed. No gaps, no nothing, full slabs, starting from the smaller one in size, going all the way up to the bigger size. The slabs are, of course, entities that you can always move on, and selecting a slab in our cast planner, it also being selected in the let's say in my model view, right? So again, everything is interconnected. There is a little space here. How you can optimize that? You can always make the bed a little bit bigger if you have any tolerances. So the tolerances will be basically the space at the end if you want this to be filled out perfectly. We can also see the next day, and yeah, this is how it looks. You can see we have some intervals here with some cut slabs that they were not cut correctly. Of course, this is not ideal for our model, but yeah, it's pretty okay. Yeah, and going back to the cash planner, you can see here in the calendar view, we can also find the real date, which is the 1st of July, and you can see all the slabs coming from the webinar in June. Add it here, and you can see also the list of the slabs, and you see that they go a little bit everywhere, but that's really good. Yeah, so it is a pretty simple thing. Here is where we do the fine planning. Doing the fine planning meaning that now all of those, they have status 30, they are planned for production. It is very clear to see. And the next part, of course, is to do the cast and transport planning. I have also promised you to do that. So I will go to the stack planning. Now, as the last part of this webinar, the stack and transport planning, I like to explain a little bit what the transport is and what the stack planning is. Most of you, of course, you understand, but stacking the slabs top of each other, that's pretty clear. The other part of the system is that we have the transport. In our system, transport is basically a stack added to a vehicle. In a lot of cases, only one stack of elements like an L frame or an A frame or an in-loader stack. It's only one stack with many elements on it added to a vehicle. In that case, you can automatically select your elements and create a transport. When we have hollowcores though, it is not very efficient to do it like that, because then we will create transports with only one stack of hollowcores. Well, in reality, a hollowcore is 1.2 meters wide, meaning that we can always, most likely, in most cases, we can fit two stacks next to each other on a vehicle. And in order to do this, I think the best way to do it would be to create the let's see it here, would be to create only one, create first the stacks, and then of course add the stacks to the transport. For the sake of this example, I'll just take the slabs here. I'll just select them, and then I will also come and try to, of course, I can see the time has passed by, so I will just do this auto stack. I will select the horizontal for my hollowcore. This is the one. You can always use different load orders, erection sequence, reverse erection sequence. That's why the erection sequence is very important, because the last one on top is going to also be the first one erected on site. So sometimes it is very important. The load date is being taken automatically from the delivery date or the load date that we have added in our system. So when I say OK here, that will also automatically create the stacks, right? And I have created 4 stacks. Everything is in full 3D. Let's see it here. 2, 3, for yes, and we can also do the same for this one. In my case now, I will just select randomly 1 and 3, and I will add them on a vehicle. We say auto transport. I will take my trailer. Again, use the element dates. That's perfect. Reuse the templates. You can add a lot of information on your transport. And then, of course, say OK. And then going to the transfer planning, we will refresh. No. Then you can see that I have added my Hollowcore on a trailer. They look pretty nice. And I can move this here, and I can move this here, and I can even, take an extra load of Hollowcores and add them. Now it's not snapping for some reason, but you can always move it to a specific place. When you move it, for example, here, then you will see that the center of gravity for the template also moves. If the 3D view is not something for you and it makes you feel like you are not, how do you call it? It takes more time than let's say than it should, then you can just keep, of course, your reports and get your transfer planning directly from the list of transfer planning, right? Usually, a lot of people find this very, very helpful and very easy to work with. Right. From my side, I want to say now, of course, there is a lot more process, right? When we finish this planning, this rough planning and the fine planning, then that's where the magic happens, right? That's when we select the tables. Let's go to the calendar view. It's a little bit easier. We select the tables and then we set the status. We say produced. This, of course, happens through the mobile application or your people in the factory, and you can see here how the elements are getting produced. We can say also here set status to produced. It is very easy. The color changes. Everything looks consistent. Then you can pick up an element and, of course, do the post-production controls and these type of things. Now, of course, you can do a lot of things. You can take pictures. You can just press save, and you will see that the status will automatically change. And then the whole point is, even though you made only one Hollowcore, this is something that you see which one of those is produced and approved, and the same way it will move on to storage, and then of course it will get the right properties for the transfer planning, right, and the stack planning. So this is it for me. Before I leave you, I know we almost spent an hour. I want to do it a little bit faster. Designing a little bit sometimes takes a little bit more time, especially in Revit. What I want to show you before I leave you is something that it is of great importance to me. Most of the things that I have said today, you can also find especially when it comes to design, also project planning and production, you can find those into our new Impact Docs wiki page. It is found here. This is the HTTP for the Impact Docs. You need to have, of course, an account to be able to access it. If you do not have an account and you're a new customer, you can always Google Strusoft Wiki Impact and find the training course in our old wiki version, right? Which is also here called Impact for Revit, and you can look into the material here and review the things that I did, and also look into more detail about other elements. If you are interested and you really like what you saw, and you would like to give it a try yourselves, this is something that, of course, we offer to our customers, and we can always give you trials. Please contact our sales team, and they will always set you up with a trialer in our cloud database. No need for extreme setup. If you have Revit already, we will install, you will be able to install Project Manager and uh, and the rest of the software and connect to our database, our cloud database, and you will be start using this. You will get all the information about the training materials, and it will be just great. So yeah, I just want to say that this is important also, even though we finish the webinar, it is a very important thing to know. Yes, I would like to thank you all for your attention. I would like to thank you for your time, and have a great summer. This has been very nice. I have been a little bit rusty. I think I have not held a webinar for a couple of years now, so bear with me, and wishing you all a great summer. See you all. Bye bye.